Oh yea, oh yea, oh yea. All persons having anything to do before my lord the Queen's justice, at the sittings of the sides and nights trials, Hoya Termina, and General Jail delivery, draw near and give your attendance, and you shall be heard.
It's a bitter, cold day in the dead of winter. Inside this Anglican chapel at Bishop's College in Lennoxville, Quebec, an occasion of renewal and rebirth is being celebrated.
Dearly beloved, you have come to this house of God to renew your vows. Marriage is a holy estate.
Barbara and Thomas Matthews have been married for almost 25 years, and they have come today to re-sanctify their quarter century together.
Will you take each other by the right hand?
The Matthews are celebrating something rare. Before the Anglican Bishop of Quebec, they are renewing their commitment to a love that has endured.
Till death do you part?
I do.
This ceremony symbolizes their devotion to one another and their commitment to the permanence of the family.
Faithful wife, till death do you part?
I do.
But beyond these doors, other emotions and other values are challenging the very traditions celebrated here.
For more than 140 years, Anglicans from this part of the eastern townships of Quebec have been worshiping in this chapel. They've taken communion here and had their children baptized and gotten married. That injunction from the marriage ceremony, "Till death do you part," used to mean exactly what it says, that in the eyes of the church, marriage lasts as long as you both do. You don't get unmarried. But even the Anglican Church of Canada has relaxed its old prohibition against remarrying divorced persons. Canadians are demanding easier and easier divorce. In 1968, the then Minister of Justice, Pierre Trudeau, introduced the Revised Divorce Act. Its intent was to keep the state out of the bedroom, but its effect was to bring the bedroom more and more into the courtroom. Since that act was passed, the divorce rate has gone up 5 times. 1 Canadian marriage in 3 ends in divorce. And if there are children from the divorce, or communal property, or contested assets, ironically, that "till death do you part" becomes a mixed blessing.
When you fall in love and want to marry, the law doesn't ask for your reasons. But when you fall out of love and want the marriage to stop, the law demands to know why. It even tries to make you change your mind.
Do you feel at this point in time that you and your husband could benefit from counseling, or that there's any chance of the two of you getting back together?
Oh, I don't think so. We've had counseling before we separated.
And it didn't work out?
No.
Okay. So what was the cause of the separation at that time?
Well, I found out that he was going with somebody, or...
The law recognizes only a few reasons: mental and physical cruelty, permanent separation, adultery. Sleeping with someone who is not your spouse is the reason that almost a third of divorcing couples use to end their marriages.
Getting money for yourself, in other words.
The Honorable Alan Gold is the Chief Justice of the Superior Court of Quebec, and he supervises a court which deals with every aspect of the law, not just the law of the family.
Well, family matters are, of course, by definition, in many ways, much more difficult than the average commercial or corporate matter, because you're dealing with the people who are very much in distress. They are suffering from all sorts of feelings, which you know as well as I do, everybody does. Anger, hostility, frustration, humiliation, and they are therefore not inclined to be very reasonable in the way they deal with the issues which are there. And I don't expect that everyone is working out the psychodrama of his broken marriage or her broken marriage when he comes to court. But in many instances, that's what it appears to be. And in some cases, one often feels that the parties would be better off in the psychiatrist's couch than in the courtroom.
Kalman Samuels, QC, started his Montreal practice back when a divorce lawyer needed a car almost more than an office. Prior to 1968, he drove to Ottawa because only the Senate, not the courts, had the power to grant divorces to Quebecers. Now, 32 years after he was called to the bar, the firm bearing his name employs 6 lawyers, 4 secretaries, and always 2 articling students. From the 34th floor of Place Ville-Marie, Kalman Samuel's office looks down upon an agitated tide of human life that is constantly tossing up to him the wreckage of broken families.
I find all aspects of the law quite fascinating, and every day brings a new experience. But I tend to relate more to the people or the person and the situation rather than the intellectual part of the law and the trial. I tend to, the trial of first instance really turns me on. I really enjoy it.
When you go into Kalman Samuel's office, you're meeting someone whose specialty is arguing.
Because he said, how come we inscribed against ourselves, which is perfectly legal and can be done.
This man will fight for you. He'll guide you through a labyrinth of laws and rules. The system in which he works is age-old. It's adversarial. But there's little fighting between these two. Over 30 years ago, Kalman met Stella Flater, a young lawyer from Vancouver. They married in January 1958. Together, they have built this practice.
We're waiting on the other case. We're going to try to negotiate.
Do you want me present?
No.
The law is a good way to learn how to get through life, you know, because you win some and you lose some in every aspect of life. And you set your parameters, you tell your client what to expect. And sometimes you will reach your maximum, and sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll get a result that's outside those parameters, and that's a loss. But you have to accept that as you accept the rest of life.
Kalman gets up at 6 and begins his day with stress-reducing exercises. Ahead of him, court appearances, negotiations with other lawyers, conferences with associates, and a never-ending stream of clients. Some of what they say to each other here will be said again before a judge, but Mr. Justice Gold believes it will bear fruit only if there is a certain trusting cast of mind.
You can only accomplish miracles if the parties allow themselves to work with you, and because they believe in miracles. It's something like Tinker Bell and Peter Pan. You don't believe in miracles, you're not going to accomplish them.
The signs are very promising that your husband would be prepared to transfer the ownership of the house to you if you would forego your rights realment.
I think we should proceed with that then.
The clients come to you for advice and you tell them what is good for them. And quite often it's hard medicine. They don't like to hear it because it's not what they think.
Kalman Samuel's Marshall?
Hour after hour, clients, other lawyers, in steady, uninterrupted sequence.
Well, I've been asked to subpoena many witnesses. Family's breaking up. The problem has to be resolved. Which one of the parents receives the custody, and what about the visiting rights, and how about alimony payments in respect to the children? Now that has to be resolved. So the threat of going to court forces a negotiation between the parties.
Well, there's elements of a cattle auction to it. A crowd, an anonymous crowd. You go in there wrapped in all your own perceptions and your own history, and yet you're anonymous.
Litigation, as you know, is not the most pleasant kind of way to resolve your problems.
That's right. So I bought a house that I never owned before. I put her into a business that she never had before. And now they want it all.
Up till recently in our society, those were not the roles of men and women. Men were looked upon as the providers.
Yeah, but
up till recently.
Today
Now,
things are
have
different.
changed,
Yes.
and the law has changed with it.
I don't think so. The judges, I don't think it's completely
Well,
changed
in
with
your
it.
case, I think you should be quite thankful with the results. I think the judge studied the case, applied the principles of law exactly as they should be applied, and you were most fortunate.
Yes.
You want to come in for a second?
Yes.
Yeah, Mrs. Sam.